Forget Spurs, today we're at Wembley for the international break. Football's coming home. Today, Team Whispers turns its attention to the national team as the Three Lions plough on in search of qualification for Russia 2018. But in recent days, the focus has been less about what's to come and more on who's going.
I think a good moment to recognise what an outstanding player he's been for England. You know, I see some debate around, is he a legend or isn't he? Well, if you're the most capped outfield player and you're the record goal scorer, I'm not quite sure what else you have to do to be a legend. So he's been somebody that served England brilliantly and with enormous pride.
Well, I think Wayne Rooney's a player who's always played, and I think he's not one who accepts being on the bench or playing a bit part, and I think you have to respect him for that in terms of moving away from Manchester United and maybe making this decision in the future. Who knows? Young players have got to come in and fill that void, and has got to go on and be the next Wayne Rooney.
To be fair to Wayne, to give him his credit, he's called it absolutely right. I think he wouldn't start. Harry Kane would be the number 9. We know that he's the first choice. I think Dele Alli has pretty much got that number 10 role pinned down now. I think he is the future of England's midfield. So I think Wayne Rooney has just made a very sensible decision.
With Rooney out of the fold, the most experienced international by number of caps is Joe Hart, but the goalkeeper is far from assured of his starting place in Southgate's side. Although Jordan Pickford dropped out of the squad through injury earlier this week, Tom Heaton and Jack Butland remain and will doubtless put the pressure on Hart for that number 1 spot.
I've always said I feel like the goalkeeping standard is very, very high in England. And it's a privileged position to play for the country, and every single time I put on that number 1 jersey for England, I'm very, very proud and very excited for what comes with it. There's the 2 guys you mentioned. There's Big Fraser, just signed another new deal, so that his importance there is massive. There's Heats as well, who's been, nothing short of a miracle for Burnley with his performances. He's been absolutely outstanding. And there's plenty of other English keepers. I've always spoke about the keepers in the Championship who, it's tough to get in a Premier League team. It is really tough. I found that this summer. There's some great keepers out there, and I don't think that's going to change for a long time.
So, who's more likely to take Hart's number 1 spot? Well, Tom Heaton is accurate in his distribution, takes a good number of clean sheets and concedes only a few over every 90 minutes. Jack Butland, however, makes more saves for every goal that he concedes, makes slightly more saves per 90 minutes and manages to distribute the ball slightly further than the Burnley keeper. Though Heaton may concede fewer goals, Butland makes more saves, and the competition for that number 1 spot will only get more fierce as we head towards the World Cup.
What I do know, because we asked Gareth about this at the press conference last week, was that he isn't going to chop and change the goalkeepers for the 2 games. There was a suggestion that maybe Joe Hart would play in the Slovakia game with Jack Butland playing in the Malta game. But he ruled that out. He said he will. He thinks it was only right and proper to play with 1 goalkeeper in both matches, and I have a sneaking feeling that that's going to be Jack Butland, I think.
So it looks like Southgate will drop Hart from his starting lineup, and the manager is showing no signs of stopping there. Perhaps Hart's lowest moment in an England shirt came on that fateful day against Iceland last summer, when England lined up in a 4-3-3 formation, spearheaded by Harry Kane with Daniel Sturridge and Raheem Sterling on the wings and Wayne Rooney in midfield. This weekend, however, we expect just 6 players to have survived from that side. Rooney has retired, Sturridge has struggled for form, while Marcus Rashford has only continued to impress after an electric start to his career, so he could well come in on the right. Eric Dyer and Jordan Henderson will sit in front of the defence, allowing Dele Alli to take up the number 10 role as Southgate looks to make him England's creative force as we head towards Russia. But the biggest difference between then and now could revolve around Raheem Sterling. At Euro 2016, Sterling came under heavy criticism after some disappointing displays on the left wing. Much of the post-Iceland anger was pointed in his direction. However, since Euro 2016, and particularly under Pep Guardiola at Manchester City, Sterling has reinvented himself as a more central force. Despite only featuring from the bench so far this season, the midfielder has bagged 2 goals in just 3 appearances, and we wouldn't be surprised if he is used in a similarly central position for England at some point against Malta or Slovakia. And who's likely to be at Sterling's heels, ready to pounce if he or any other senior player drops in form? Well, we've identified 3 youngsters who are in prime position to make the leap into the senior side, in much the same way that Pickford and Chalobah have done in recent times. Dominic Solanke played his youth football at the Chelsea Academy but jumped ship this summer in search of more first-team action, and if he gets that at Liverpool, he could stake a claim for inclusion. Harry Winks, meanwhile, has come through the Pochettino school of development at Spurs, and he too will be putting the pressure on England regulars in midfield, while Solanke's new Liverpool teammate, Trent Alexander-Arnold, has impressed as an understudy for Nathaniel Klein, particularly in scoring a long-range free kick in the Champions League qualifier versus Hoffenheim the other week.
With games against Malta and Slovakia, we're probably not going to learn too much about how well this England side might do next summer. But we do know that we're entering a new frontier. Rooney's gone, Hart might be going, but we've got a fair few youngsters knocking on the door. Is it too soon to get excited?